So let's start. So we are reading, today we are reading a magic story which happened on the New Year's Eve many, many years ago in Bohemia, Czech Republic. Now, narrator one, Daniel, you read.
There are 12 months in a year. Soon as 1 month ends, the next on begins. February has never come before June, of May before April. On falls the often and the never meet.
But people say that in the hilly countries of Bohemia there was a little girl who once saw all the 12 months at the same time. It came about this way.
Narrator 3, Serежа.
In a small village there lived a wicked woman who had a daughter and a daughter and a
Stepdaughter.
She loved her daughter, but the stepdaughter could do nothing to please her.
Could do nothing to please her, yes.
The daughter,
Narrator 4,
the daughter
Tracy.
lay in bed all day long eating gingerbread, while the stepdaughter was on her feet from morning till night, fetching water or carrying wood from the forest, or washing linen in the river, or weeding in the orchard.
She knew the bitter cold of the winter, the sultry heat of the summer, the fresh winds of spring, and the autumn rains. Perhaps that is why she managed once to see all the 12 months in the same time.
Valerie.
Was winter, the middle of January. There was so much snow that, and in the forest, on the hills, trees stood up in snowdrift. People kept indoors and sat by their stoves.
Yes,
On
Daniel.
such a day, toward nightfall, the weekend stepmother opened the door. So the snowstorm ready and said to her daughter,
You ought to go to the forest and pick some snowdrops. Tomorrow is your sister's name day.
The little girl glanced at her stepmother. It would be terrifying to go to the forest in weather like this. It would be easy to get lost in the forest or sink in the snowdrifts. And what snowdrops could there be midwinter? They never appeared before Mars.
Sergey.
Step sister said to her.
Yes. Dasha. Dasha is reading. Dasha. Daughter. Dasha, you are daughter. Even.
I can't see where is Dasha. There is no Dasha, but
even if you do get lost, who is there to mourn for you? Go and don't come back without the flowers. Here, take the basket.
The little girl burst into tears, but left the house. The wind tore at the shawl and threw snowflakes into her eyes as she dragged her feet through the snowdrifts.
it got darker and darker. The sky was black, and there was not a single star to peer down at the white earth below.
The stepdaughter came to the forest. Now it was quite dark, and she could not even see her hands.
Yes. Daniel?
suddenly a light flashed her over among the trees as if start had to have got caught among the branches. The chills began to tightly toward the light. Now she could catch the second of warm marker and heard the crackling of logs burning in the fire.
The girls saw some men sitting around the fire. They were so beautifully dressed, some in silver, some in gold, and some in green velvet. She counted 12, 3 old people, 3 middle-aged, and 3 young ones, and the last 3 were just boys.
The
Сережа.
young ones sat close by the fire, the older ones farther away.
Suddenly,
Suddenly, one old man turned round. The tallest one with a long beard and bushy hair brown and
eyebrows.
the little girl. The old man asked her loudly.
Kate. January, Kate.
Where did you come from? What do you want?
The little girl showed her empty basket and said,
Stepdaughter.
I
Haya.
go to Snowdrop. My stepmother sent me here for them and told me not to come back with an empty basket.
The 12
Great.
men glanced at her and began to whisper among themselves. The child could not make out what they were saying. It was as though it were not people speaking at all, but the trees rustling.
They whispered, and then the tall old man turned to her again and asked,
What will you do if you don't find the snowdrops? They won't appear before March, you know.
Stepdaughter Haya.
I must stay in the forest. I'll wait for March. It would be better to freeze to death in the wood than to go home without the snowdrops.
Yes, Daniel. Daniel.
Stanley, the young said of the 12, with his four-coloured hands on one shoulder, rose to his feet and walked up to the old man.
So yes, Olga, March.
Brother January, let me,
Excuse me. Yes.
Brother January, let me come in your place for an hour.
I would do it willingly, but March can't come before February.
It's all right. You can let him come in your place for an hour. I won't argue. All of us know this child, sometimes at the river with her pails, or in the forest gathering wood. She belongs to us, to all of us, to all the months, so we must help her now.
The old January stroked his eyes and said,
Frosts keep away from the trees in the forest. Leave the core of the birch or the pine. Freeze neither the ravens nor houses of men.
Сережа.
He
Just
fell silent and silence
silence.
Silence.
Тишина. Silence. Descended.
descended on the forest too. The trees stopped crackling from the forest, and the snow fell in dark, soft flakes. January handed the axe
X for
to his younger brother, Shaggy February. He struck his axe again, shook his beard, and howled.
howled, завыл. Winds, gales, storms, blow as hard as you can. raged the whole night long, whistle in the chimneys, drum in the skies, twist and turn over the earth like a great white snake. Tracy.
You are,
narrator.
Tracy, unmute
And
yourself.
And as soon as he said this, a wet, stormy wind began to blow and shook the branches. The snowflakes whirled and raced over the earth. February handed his axe to his younger brother.
March hit the ground with his axe. The little girl saw that it wasn't an axe any longer. It was a large branch covered with buds. March laughed and began to sing loudly in his clear, young voice. Streams flow merrily, pools overflow. Come out, little ants, and warm yourselves after winter's chill. The bear is quitting his lair and strolls in the forest. The birds are singing, and the snowdrops are pushing through the earth.
The little girl could not believe her eyes. There was soft, fresh earth beneath her feet. All round her she heard the ripple of running water and the sound of melting snow. The buds on the branches were bursting, and green leaves pushed out of their dark skins.
You must hurry, for we have only an hour to do what we want.
Daniil. Narrator 1.
So the little girl rushed into the forest. There were sandals of snowballs everywhere. She picked a basketful and turning back to the clear where the 12 brothers had sat around the fire.
Nadifa, narrator
But
2.
but there was no more fire, and the brothers were gone. She had no one to take, so she ran away home, and the moon lighted her way. Had she hardly walked in that the snowstorm ragged again, and the moon vanished behind the clouds?
Hey, you are back. Where are the snowdrops? Narrator 3. Сережа.
Stop, daughter. Put the basket of snowdrops beside them. She told them all that had happened. They listened and could hardly believe her.
Hardly believe her, yes. Did the months give you anything else?
I didn't ask them for anything else.
So Dasha is absent, yes? What a fool. Had I been in your place, I would have asked one for apples and sweet pears, the other for ripe strawberries, the third for tasty mushrooms, the fourth for fresh cucumbers. There's clever girl. In the winter, strawberries and pears are beyond price. We might have sold them for so much money. And this little fool brings nothing but snowdrops. Put on some warm clothes, my dear girl, and go to the clearing. They won't pull the wool over your eyes, though there are 12 of them to you one.
Daughter ran to the forest, following her stepsister's footsteps. The forest was dense and dark, and snowdrifts high. Soon she caught sight of a light in the distance, as if a star had got caught in the branches.
Yes.
She went towards the light, struggling through the snow, and finally came to the clearing. She walked up to the fire, did not bow in greeting or say a kind word, but chose the best spot and sat down to get warm.
Her brothers fell silent. The forest was still. Suddenly, January struck his axe and on the ground.
Who are you? Where do you come from?
From my house. You have given my sister a large basket of snowdrops, so I came following her footsteps.
We know your sister, but we've never set eyes on you. What is the purpose of your visit?
I've come for presents. I want June to fill my basket with strawberries, and July could give me fresh cucumbers and white mushrooms, and August some sweet pears and apples. September could give me a ripe nut, and October...
Wait a moment. Summer doesn't come before spring, or spring before winter. I'm January, the master of the forest now, and I shall reign here for 31 days.
It's not you I came to see at all. There's nothing to get from you but hoar and frost. It's summer months I want. Narrator 1, Daniel.
January
Frowned.
Фраун, нахмурился.
he was his silver and snow storm blew up from the east to the sky, and I could not even see the fire for the snow. On one cool online here it's hissing somewhere, groaning and moaning. The girl was
Suddenly,
suddenly turning
terrified.
The snowstorm was whirling around her. She fell down in a snowdrift and was buried under soft white snow.
Your
Narrator 3.
mother waited for her, but there was no second for of her. She wrapped herself up warmly and went to the forest.
But how could she find her in such a storm, in such blackness? She walked and searched high and low, but she found nothing. And so both of them remained in the forest to await the coming of summer.
Stepdaughter lived on happily, grew into a young woman, got married, and had children.
And she had a wondrous garden round her house. Flowers bloomed where before anywhere else. Berries repined, pears and apples mellowed. It was cool in the smelling head, quiet in the storm. All the months of the year seemed to visit that young woman at once.